It's tempting to think that humanity is doomed. Environmental catastrophe, nuclear war, and pandemics all seem capable of wiping us out. And that's without imagining all the exciting new technologies that might be lying in wait across the horizon, waiting to devour us. However, I'm an optimist. I think there's an excellent chance humanity will see this century out. And if we eventually become a multiplanetary species, the odds start looking really quite good for us. Nonetheless, in thinking about the potential value in human survival, or the potential loss from human extinction, I think we could do more to first pin down whether and why we should care about our survival and exactly what would be required for us to survive. For many hard-nosed people, I imagine there's an obvious answer to both questions. There is no special value in human survival, and in fact, the universe may be a better place for everyone, including perhaps us if we were all to quietly go extinct. This is a position I've heard from ecologists and antinatalists, and while I won't debate it here, I find it deeply unpersuasive. As far as we know, humanity is the only truly intelligent species in the universe. The only species that is capable of great works of art, philosophy, and technological development. And while we may not be the only conscious species on Earth, we are likely the only species capable of the more rarefied forms of happiness and value. Further to that, even though there are surely other conscious species on Earth worth caring about, our sun will finish them off in a few billion years. And they're not getting off this planet without our help. However, even if you are sympathetic to this line of response, it admittedly doesn't show there's any value specifically in human survival. Even if we grant that humans are an important source of utility worth protecting, surely there are intelligent aliens somewhere out there in the cosmos capable of enjoying just as fancy pleasures as those we experience. Insofar as we're concerned with human survival at all, then maybe it would just be in virtue of our more general high capacity for well-being. Again, I'm not particularly convinced by this. Leaving aside the fact that we may be alone in the universe, I can't shake the deep intuition that there's some special value in the thriving of humanity, even if only for us. To illustrate this point, imagine that one day a group of tiny aliens show up in orbit and politely ask if they can terraform Earth to be more amenable to them, specifically replacing our atmosphere with one composed of sulfur dioxide. The downside of this will be that humanity and all life on Earth will die out. On the upside, however, the aliens' tiny size means that Earth could sustain trillions of them. You're rational, ethical beings, they say. Surely you can appreciate that it's a better use of resources to give us your planet. Think of all the utility we'd generate. If you're really worried, we can keep a few organisms from every species alive in one of our alien zoos. Maybe I'm being selfish with the idea that we should all go along with the aliens' wishes, but that seems absurd to me. One of my deepest moral intuitions is that there is some special good that we are all rationally allowed, if not obliged, to pursue in ensuring the continuation and thriving of humanity. Let's say you agree. We now face a further question. What would it take for humanity to survive in this ethically relevant sense? It's a surprisingly hard question to answer. One simple option would be that we survive as long as the species Homo sapiens is still kicking around. Without getting too deeply into the semantics of humanity, it it seems like this misses the morally interesting dimensions of survival. For example, imagine that in the medium-term future, beneficial gene modding becomes ubiquitous, to the point where all of our descendants will be reproductively cut off from breeding with the likes of us. While that would mean the end of Homo sapiens, at least by standard definitions of species, it wouldn't, to my mind, mean the end of humanity in the broader and more ethically meaningful sense. A trickier scenario would involve the idea that one day we may cease to be biological organisms, having all uploaded ourselves to computers or robot bodies. Could humanity still exist in this scenario? My intuition is that we might survive this. Imagine a civilization of robots who counted biological humans among their ancestors and went around quoting Shakespeare to each other, discussing the causes of the Napoleonic Wars and debating the great television epic Game of Thrones. There was a satisfactory adaptation of the books. In that scenario, I feel humanity in the broader sense could be well thriving even if we no longer have biological bodies. This leads me to a final possibility. Maybe what's ethically relevant in our survival is really the survival of our culture and values. That what matters is really that beings relatively like us are partaking in the artistic and cultural fruits of our civilization. While I am tempted by this view, I think it's a little too liberal. Imagine we wipe ourselves out next year in a war involving devastating bioweapons, and then a few centuries later a group of aliens show up on Earth to find nobody's here. Though they're disappointed there are no living humans, they're delighted by the cultural treasure trove that they found. Soon alien scholars are quoting Shakespeare and George R. R. Martin and figuring out how to cook pasta al dente. Earth becomes to the aliens what Pompeii is to us, a fantastic tourist destination, a cultural theme park. In that scenario, my gut says we still lose. Even though there are beings that are, assuming, relatively like us that are enjoying our culture, humanity did not survive in this ethically relevant sense. So what's missing? What is it that's preserved in the robot descendant scenario that's missing in the alien tourist one? My only answer is that some kind of appropriate casual continuity must be what makes a difference. Perhaps it's that we choose through a series of voluntary proposed actions that bring about the robot scenario, whereas the alien theme park is a mere accident. Or perhaps it's the fact that I'm assuming there's a gradual transition from us to the robots rather than the scenario of the theme park. I have some more thought experience that might be able to help us decide between these alternatives, but that would be taking us far beyond the scope of a blog. And perhaps my intuitions that got us this far are radically at odds with yours. But in any case, as we take our steps in the next stage of human development, I think it's important for us to figure out what it is about us, if anything, that makes humanity valuable.